Hello and welcome back to Analog Comics. Finally. It's been many weeks since I've done anything on my channel. But I haven't been just resting or doing nothing. You see, after the last video, I decided that I need to upgrade the sound of my videos. So I got myself a new microphone and now it's here. But there's still a lot of things missing, like a suitable stand. I now only have this table stand that I'm holding in my hand, like this. I can't put it on a table because it's too tall for my table. The microphone would be on my forehead. I've had this stand for a long time, but it's not suitable for this use. So I'm waiting for the proper stand to arrive. Also, I'm missing a lot of other gear that is slowly but surely coming. And I'm trying to figure out what type of cables, plugs, and adapters I need. Lots to do. But so sound was one thing, but the other thing I wanted to have is to be able to do these videos in a sitting position. And here I am, sitting down. I'm doing quite a long video, so it's hard for my back to just stand still for an hour or two in front of camera. So this just makes my life easier. But at the same time, I upgraded a lot of other things. I got light here, I have light here. I didn't use any lights before for filming. I also upgraded my software that allows me to do different things. And this video is about me being able to test them. So we will do a comic book store tour. You will see a lot of comics today. But it's also an excuse for me to try out different things. You know, I can control the world here. Like here you can see, whoa, where did the logo go? And now you're all panicking. I want the AC logo back, and I get that, and I return it like this. But the software also allows me to change camera angles. Like here I have my laptop's webcam, which is not a good quality, but this is basically an option. I could have here another camera pointing down at the comics so I could show them live while I speak, change different views and so on. So you get the idea. I just get more flexibility to it. And the same trick with the logo. Whoa, no need to panic, it's back. And let's just not make this any longer. Now you know why I've been gone, and there's still some things to kind of get around with, like the lighting alone is a mystery, and the placement of camera. I still have a lot to learn about it, but this will do. It will be okay. What I'm going to do today, that's enough, because now we are going to jump to the Faraos Cigarer. Okay, so this is the basic view, what you see when you step into the store, the Faraos Cigarer store. And what you see on the right side, the whole wall, that long wall to the far distance that is hard to see, that's all in English. That's your Marvel, DC, Image, Dark Horse, Independent, whatever. It's all English. That wall alone would make this a great store. That wall alone would be enough for me to get there many times. But the most amazing part is exactly everything else. The thing on the other side of the aisle, that other wall, those are all albums, European albums, which, by the way, it's the best format for comics. But it's all in Danish, which is amazing. I mean, Denmark has about the same population as Finland, but their selection is 2-3 times at least wider than what I have here in Finland. I am openly jealous. And the tables here in the middle that run also all the way to the end, they are all in Danish. So that just tells you that the whole scene in Denmark it's healthy, really healthy. But before we go deeper into the store, I'll take you back outside and show you from outside, and then we come back in, because what you see here is only part of the store. As you can see, there are stairs up, you know, the stairs go upstairs, but there's also room to my right, and that's a Tintin room. There's also a Harry Potter room. We're not going to visit that because I didn't visit that. But there's also big shelves on the left, and that's why we need to take a few moonwalk steps back. And let's see, I'll put this film running, and it should move us outside. I'll stop it here. So this is Faraos Cigarer, Copenhagen in Denmark. That's their capital. And the street you see here, this is one of the main walking streets. And here is, right here is like a cross section. And this is one of the best positions to be in town. Copenhagen is filled with shopping streets. It's an amazing place. I love the city. It doesn't matter when you go there, which time of the year it is, all these streets are filled with people. It's a very lively city, great people. But it's amazing also to see this well-equipped comic book store in one of the most expensive places in the city. And that's not all. Within the 100-meter radius, I mean, it's just a shouting distance here, they have many stores. They got, I think there's video games, there is cards, board games, they have live role-playing game store alone, where you can get all those costumes. They have weapons. There was a massive wall of weapons just for those role-playing games. And they have a separate store for manga. In the end, I have a photo about that too. So this is pretty amazing setup just from the go. And if you look at the logos, they have two logos here. The one in the back, it has a window under it. That is the window I'm going to show you next. That's where the actual film starts. And the logo here closer to us with the bigger window, that is the entrance to the store. But now let's look at the video. So this is what they have on the window. It's mostly collectibles, statues, figures. And in fact, behind this window, that's where we're going to go after this. There's a Tintin room. It's like a half level up, and there's a Tintin room, and half level down below the ground level, like half below, is a room for all kinds of Harry Potter stuff. It's never been my thing, so I didn't even go there. But yeah, so this window, many people stop here just to stare at these statues. And I get this decision because if you put comic books on window, any store owner knows that those comic books are they're destroyed already. 1 or 2 sunny days and they're all yellow, and you can't sell them anymore. So whatever you put in the window, you're basically sacrificed them already. That's a decision. And that's now we're already inside. This is a cabinet that's right next to the door where we come in. They got some Smurfs, Asterix, little figures. I like these figures. It's funny to see your favorite 2D characters in 3D. There's a Spirou. But the reason I don't buy these is I don't have a place to put them. Then they got some really big statues also, Asterix, Smurfs. And after this, oh yeah, there's more. You could buy these as a sets also. I'll stop here for a second. Maybe I'll remove my face for a while so you can enjoy the video. So this whole room was a Tintin room, and they got amazing amount of cars with Tintin characters. And if you are a hardcore Tintin aficionado, then you know where these cars are from which story. But you have to be really hardcore because many Tintin stories were redone at least once, redrawn. So it could be that the car model has changed at least once in the same story. But if you look at the volume, I mean, they just get going. There's more and more. It has to be popular because they had one wall of these. They were quite expensive also, but the quality was good. I mean, they looked really good. So I mean, I looked at the price tags and I didn't feel like I was cheated if I would buy them. These were really high quality stuff. But I really don't have a place to display these, so that's why it was easy to skip the whole thing. And after this, the camera will pan 180 degrees. Well, there's still more. Well, this one I know. This is a classic. Just like this one. Almost banned. And then they got a lot of t-shirts. I kind of regret not buying the gray one that has the moon rocket. And now I'm going to stop it here. I'm going to stop this video here and there if I have something to say about particular comic books. I may not, there's a lot of comics books that I don't know anything about, but this one here, this is one of the biggest success stories in Europe. And I know that there'll be people outside Europe, from outside Europe watching this. A lot of subscribers for my channel are from USA. And for them, it might be strange that I put my face back. Well, not that, but it might be strange to hear that the Walt Disney comics in Europe are much, much more popular than what they are in USA. The books you see here are called pocket books. Donald Duck pocket books. In Germany, they call Taschenbucher. It's the same word. In Denmark, they call them Jumbo or Jumbo. I think in Denmark, they pronounce it Jumbo. But these books, they originate from Italy. There was a company who got the licensing rights for Donald Duck, but they also got the licensing right for Reader's Digest. And they bought a really expensive printing machine for the Reader's Digest. And to make sure that it's printing all the time something, they made a one-off from this type of one-off. It became so popular that they made another one and then another one, another one. And today, at least in Finland, this is a monthly publication. There are between 500 and 600 of them out already. The basic pocket book is over 200 pages long, and there are several stories in it. So it looks, feels a bit like tankabon in size and the length. But what's special about it is that they already originated from Italy, and that's where the stories also came from. The very first ones had few stories from USA, but then it became an Italy thing, and those stories were they had much more violence, and they were scarier. I really liked this. I collected the first 100 when I was younger, but then the creators changed that I didn't like them anymore. There's been a lot of because it's been running so long, since 50s. In Finland since 70s, so there's been many creators already in. But I have to point out a few things, like Italians, they created also a lot of characters to the duck lore that might be completely unknown to, let's say, US readers. One of them is this one. That's a Finnish version, Aku Taikaviitta. That's what they called it in Italy, Paperinik. I think Paperino is Donald Duck in Italy, and Topolino is Mickey Mouse. But they call this Paperinik, which is it refers to another Italian comic book character called Diabolic. But of course there is a hint of Batman and other stuff too. But this is not to be mixed with this character, the Darkwing Duck from the Duck Stories. Nothing to do with that. Paperinik, this is called, I think it's been called, what it was, Super Duck, and also Duck Avenger in English. I've seen those names at least mentioned. This is actually Donald Duck. That is a Donald Duck alter ego. And it was created because the Italian readers, they complained to the creators that whatever Donald Duck does, he always fails. And they felt bad for him because, you know, he tried to be a good person, but he always failed. Of course, he had a really bad temper also. But they listened and they created for Donald Duck his superhero persona. And actually this pocketbook that I have now on the screen, that was the one where they announced it first time. I've read that book so many times. I really like this character. But let's move forward. And that's like a tower of pocketbooks. And then I stop here. Throughout the store, you will see these round displays, and they are usually reserved for one character or one series and collecting all of that stuff. So if you like that particular series, you don't have to look for it because you have all the volumes right there. I'll just put my face away. That's the Tintin. And then we got more duck stories. This is this is the first thing you see when you come in, so it kind of tells you how important Walt Disney Comics are in Europe. It's like a way of life. The bottom shelf is special editions, and then they get Don Rosa, but also there in the left, the blonde one, I think that was Marco Rota who did that story. So they are making like a hardcover collections of other creators than Don Rosa and Karl Barks too, which is a good thing. There are other good European duck artists. But of course they got Don Rosa, and then they got Karl Barks and Don Rosa in the same books. Asterix, which is pretty to be expected in collected and single issues, and usually they stock the extra ones up there. And then they had a lot of framed posters up. I didn't see the pricing of them or if they were even on sale, but makes it look good. Then we come back to Tintin. By the way, these yellow covered Tintins, they are the original versions of these albums, so they are over 100 pages long. Later, these albums were squeezed to 64 pages and they added colors, which also made them better quality. And here we have these middle shelf. These are basically the same comics as the above, the originals, but with new covers. Some of them might even have some new editing. And then there are the current versions of them. All classics. Then downstairs we got another clear line artist. This is Jacques Martin with his Alex. And I didn't know he had this many other series. They haven't translated them into Finnish. Don't know why, because Alex is always translated. There's so many books and they're selling, so I don't know why they don't do that. Then we got the Marginal School style Smurfs, which was a spin-off from this series we see here. They call it, what is it, Henrik and Hagbard. This is also available in English. They call it Johan and Peewit. I think it's through Cinebook. I like this series a lot. And then there's interesting the Valhalla. Let me go back a second here. This one I'm interested. This is story. It's based on kind of Scandinavian mythologies about northern gods. You know, humor spiced with adventure and so on. But they only translated 5 albums into Finnish, so I didn't buy any of them. I didn't want to commit because I knew it's not going to end. I think there are 15 albums total, and there was an ending. I think there was an actual ending to the story. This is something that, you know, if some of you know, let me know if there was an actual start and ending, or if these were all separate adventures. But there's something that I'm not going to read for a while. Then this is interesting shelf. Look at it. This is all they have superheroes translated into Danish. But this is all. I mean, massive shop, and they only got few volumes. And this is pretty much the same story in Finland. Just the basic. They don't really do single issues. It's more about collected, like story arcs, and they don't take any risks. It's always those popular story arcs, trade paperbacks or longer. That's what they translate into Finnish and publish rather like that, because they're afraid that people don't get committed to single issues. Now we are in the main section of the store. This is where you saw the first picture. Now we are on the left side of it. Here we have some mixed stuff. But then we go to this European album Nirvana. And it starts with Corto Maltese. And these are really big format albums. And they're all, 99% of them is hardcover. This is dedication. I am, openly envious to Danish. We got Torpedo. This is a series that I just got into this year. I bought one volume in Finnish and I liked it. That kind of graphics is something that I noticed that I've only started to like now that I'm older. The same goes with Tardy. What you see here, this is all Tardy work, and his type of line work and drawing is something that I find myself liking it now that I'm over 50 years old. But it's kind of fun to find a new thing. Of course, this is not a new thing, but it's a new thing for me, and it's really nice when you find something that you haven't liked before and suddenly it clicks. And you realize that there are a gazillion of them available. So it's like a treasure. So I kind of like that. And there's a few interesting things here. The red book. Let me put my face there. The red book right here. Stalin's Död. That's like the death of Stalin. That is the comic book where they made... there's a movie also called The Death of Stalin. And it's based on this comic book. But also on the same shelf, not the next one with the light white round edges, but the next one is, what does it say? Det var en gång in Frankrike. Yeah, this is a great book. I have a picture of it here in English. Here, Once Upon a Time in France. It's written by Fabian Nurid, and this is a great story. If you buy this one in English, you get all the albums in one package, and it's in a real album size also. So it's a really well done story. And this is based on a true story about a person who becomes, just before the World War II, he becomes one of the richest man in France. Then during the war, he starts playing both sides, both the resistance and the Nazis. And he's also Jewish, but he's filthy rich. It's interesting story. It's also quite dramatic, I think. I can recommend that. Let's move forward. More war stories, I guess. And then we slide to the next shelf. Here I stop this again. Right here, not the Gaza one, but the next one to it, the Exterminator 17. That's also available in English. It's made by Bilal. It's an artist that if you haven't read anything from him, but I recommend you check that out. He's one of those important artists within European comics. He had in his early life he had very Moebius influenced style, but then he started making it his own, finding his own voice. But this Exterminator is written by Diane, and he is one of those 4 persons who left Pilot magazine, which I talked about in my previous video. He left Pilot magazine to set up Humanoids Publishing, and they set up also the Metal Ulant magazine, which became heavy metal in USA. This is one of his main works, this Exterminator 17. It's available in English. I have it in English in my Death Star cabinet here. Then of course, Moebius. They didn't have a lot of Moebius in English because they obviously kind of translated everything. There's a Quest for Time Bird, great series, also available in English by Regis Loisel. But so is the series up here, Döde Kempe. That means dead giant. And I have the first one on the left, the red cover. I bought that when I was there. It's fantasy story and it's really lingering. Even the first volume, there's not a lot of things happening there, but it's still enjoyable. It's very, well, first of all, the journey is enjoyable just looking at Loisel art. And I would love to read the whole series. One day I might own all of these. I don't mind. I like the fact that some creators have the balls to go slow and just let the thing unfold on its own pace. And sometimes you don't need that much action all the time if there is a right tone of storytelling. This had a really good promise of that. But yeah, as I said, I only have the first volume, but that was good. Then, well, Druna, of course, Naked Ladies, and some storage space. And then we come to Herman Huppen area. He works with the pen name Herman, and he's done dystopian stuff, adventure stuff, western stuff. He has so much albums, and I love his style. I really love it. Unfortunately, only a fraction of this has been translated into Finnish. Like here we have the Towers of Boys Mary. They only translated some of those albums. I have them all. It's a peculiar story because it sets in a kind of medieval times, but it puts you into the shoes of the regular people living that time, and it's a really, let's say that it wasn't a nice time to be alive. But yeah, very interesting story, but of course they discontinued that in Finland. And here is something I have to mention also. This is by Marini, Roms Örne. This is Eagles of Rome in English. But you can only find this in digital, which is a shame. But the art is so good, and I like the whole Rome stuff, you know, swords and sandals. Are you not entertained? So I just like this era so much, in fact, that although I don't like reading digital, this is one of those rare cases where I've been kind of thinking that I should bow to it and just at least read this one. Marini is the artist, and so he's also the artist in this Scorpionen series. This is available in English through Cinebook, if you're interested. And on the bottom itself is Gogarazzo. This is more like a samurai story. Only one volume was long ago translated into Finnish, but it's still in my to-be-read pile. I bought it knowing that there's no continuation. Then there's also, again, a rolling stand for blue coats. That's kind of a funny series, and that's available in English through Cinebook. Then behind here, all around here, this is more like strips. Calvin and Hobbes, Peanuts, everything in Danish. They got the nice boxes, and then we got the Spirou and also Invincible. This Invincible, I saw the video by Ang Schumann, you know, For the Love of Comics, and of course the Ang Schumann effect hit, and it was sold out immediately after the video. But it looked amazing. I mean, it reminded me of a series called Philemon. Really kind of inventive thing. And here's one thing I need to mention. That one on the left, Arne Ant. That's a funny one. It's actually a Swedish comic book series, and the character looks exactly like Donald Duck in many places, but it's not Donald Duck. His name Arne Ant is very close to the name of Donald Duck in Danish. And the creator, Sarli Christensen, I think he has used pen name that was close to Karl Barks. He speaks about being a writer, but I don't never see him writing. He always just sits in his pub with his anthropomorphic friends, and they just drink till they are, shit-faced, and they are pissing and puking, and it's everything that Disney is not. And in fact, Disney didn't like this. They contacted Christiansen, telling him that you have to stop, or we're going to come after you. It looks too much like a Donald Duck. So he made this story within the comic that Arne took like a plastic surgery, so his beak was narrow, like pointy, for a long time. And then at some point he made this brilliant idea that Arne bought a fake beak from this costume shop that made him look again like Donald Duck. So now Disney can't say anything. And in some of his panels, when you see the character behind, you can see the strap holding the fake beak. So he really wiped the floor of Disney lawyers. I just like his attitude. But yeah, the comic still, although it looks like it's just about drinking and puking, it talks about the cultural and social everyday issues within Sweden. So it's actually there's quite deep discussions in the comic. And yeah, just one of those things that I thought worth breaking for here. Then it's just funny stuff, as you can see from the covers alone. And then we get the Spirou, lots of Spirou. Sadly, not all of this is available in Finland. This is one of the amazing stuff. I have to stop here also. These two books, the yellow one and the blue one. This shows how amazing the Danish comic book scene is. You wouldn't know, if you don't know what these are, you wouldn't know what I mean, but I'll tell you. The yellow one here is by Rob Well. That is the creator of Spirou. He created the character for the Spirou magazine. And those comics, they are comic strips. They would not survive the history. You'd have to be a hardcore Spirou fan to read them. But if you're into Spirou and the history of it, then you want to see them. You want to see where it came from. And it's so rare that you see these books translated to some other languages than the original French. And yeah, I've seen this myself, and yeah, they're very old-fashioned. And then Gise here, the blue one, he was the next guy to do the Spirou when they handed the Spirou over to him. His main thing was that he invented the character of Fantasia, which is super important. Fantasia for Spirou is like Captain Haddock to Tintin. It makes it work because there's humor, and like Tintin is too perfect character alone, like flawless, and the same thing goes with Spirou. So they need this kind of opposite force. But yeah, Gise is different. He is an important, very important character in the European comics history, but his Spirou is also, well, let's say that I would read it once just to see it kind of where it came from, but for me there wouldn't be any rereading value for it. So I'm just saying that these are pretty hardcore, and I was amazed to see them here. Then of course Blake and Mortimer and some other classics. And then we jump to the female heroes like Natasha and what was it, Franka. Yeah, Natasha, I have many albums. Franka is a new thing to me. Then we get to, well, Gammelbot. No idea what this is. I didn't even look inside. But then we get to the basics. This is very René Goscinny, Is No Good, Lucky Luke. Then of course André Franquin with Gaston. Ooh, this is great. Storm. Storm is by Don Lawrence, the same guy who did Triton Empire. And I've seen some of those stories in heavy metal. I only have few albums. They only translated few to Finnish. I kind of missed this boat, and I'd like to have. This is a series that I'd like to read more. The Mermaid Project next to is, I think that's available through Cinebook also. Then Yoko Tsuno by Roger Leloup. He also helped Hergé in Tintin doing the backgrounds, and his specialty was vehicles, cars and planes and so on. I will do a video about Yoko Tsuno in future, that's for sure. There's Orbital, one of my all-time favorites, amazing series. Then the Valerian. Valerian is a difficult series to jump into and even like if you don't understand it fully, I think. And I think I'll talk about it in later videos. Then we got more or kind of different stuff. There's in the bottom shelf, this is right here. Landfoist von Troy. This is a really long-running fantasy series from France. I know it's available in Germany also. I just hate the fact that it's not available in Finnish or in English. I would like to read the whole thing. And then there's Elf Quest and Thorgal. Vika, that's amazing. I have the one on the right in English. It's still in my to be read pile. Let's stop here. I think that Conan is that's a strange one. They do now Conan stories in Europe also. They found some kind of legal loophole that when these are based on the very original unaltered books of Conan, then they can do that. Now, I don't know anything about the history of Conan, so I don't know how those books have been changed or updated. Somehow that was the thing that was the loophole, and now they're making these Conan albums. I actually have one of them, but it didn't make a big impression on me. I might need to read it again. Then we get to Prince Valiant. This is a thing that is coming up in many channels now more and more. It's one of those very, very old comics that have a picture and then there's text below that. You know, it's an old classic by Al Foster, and now it's been collected also and into nice hardcovers. But I think more interesting in this Faraos Cigarer context is this. What does the Erik Headspore? In Finnish this is Prinssi Rohkea, so it's like a Prince Brave, Ardent. This has a lot of that Prince Valiant vibe, so if you're interested and like the Prince Valiant, check out this series also. And also if you look at the cover, it says Faraos Cigarer. So this is probably published by Faraos Cigarer also, which I find awesome. And here we have more swords and sandals. 1066. Some kind of swords, oaths and war for kingdom stuff. The usual thing. And I believe this is available in English, but only in digital. And that's why I haven't read it. Then we got all kinds of detective stuff here. Many of these bookshelves, they had a theme, but sometimes it was hard to see what the theme was. Now, Buddy Longway, this is interesting because it's a different kind of Western. Derib, the creator, is from Switzerland, Swiss maker, and this is more about everyday life. This Buddy Longway, he just moved to these wild frontiers, and this is about the challenges he faces while living there. It's not so much about just cowboys and Indians and, you know, the regular stuff. I haven't seen another comic about that era like this. And I know that Derib did this on purpose. He wanted to have something that was kind of out of the mold. And then, of course, because we are in the Western shelf, it's Blueberry. Those hardcovers are really well done. Oh, if they would only come out in English. They are available in Finnish though. Red Kellys and the other stuff up here, these are all by Herman again. He has a lot of stuff on his resume. Here I stop. The Röde Baron. That's available through Cinebook. That's the series on the left. That's available in 3 albums, 3 volumes, but it was sold out the last time. It was out of print and sold out. I sent a message to our Cinebook asking what, and they said that yeah, it's out of print, but they don't have a time yet when it will be back. I want this series. It looks as good as the cover. Then there's some Sherlock Holmes stuff. No idea what these are. I didn't look inside these Sherlock Holmes books. And then we got here, I freeze it here. Now we're in the middle tables. As I said, all these tables are full, and also the bottoms, like the shelf under them, are full. These are all in Danish. But the series you have right here, Silas Corey, that is by Fabien Nury. He's the same guy who made this Once Upon a Time in France. I just like his writing in general. He also did I Am Legion. That is available in English. Yeah, he was also the writer for that Death of Stalin comic book. This Silas Corey thing, it looked really interesting. They had many thick albums, collected editions, and it sets in 1917, something like that, and the main character is villain, detective, killer, spy, something like that. I didn't get if he was good or bad or something in between, but that made it very interesting. And now we are getting close to that right side of the things, and now I'm going to get this more like, I've been stopping this video now for a lot, but I think once we get to this English side of it, I just let this run. The thing is that in the back, in the far back, that small shelf that holds Moebius, Jodorowsky and stuff like that, they didn't have a lot of it in English just because they had everything translated on the left side. So but let's see where this leads us. Now this is where it starts, and as you can see, they have all kinds of, these are the weird cities, Black Sad, Loisel. I mean, shelf after shelf, these are like those, I guess, more independent, wanted and known, rewarded comics. This shelf was more about documentary or biographical comics. And then next to it, we got, the shelf had more like growing up, relationship and love as a theme for the comics. Sometimes as I mentioned, the themes were harder to see per shelf. Sometimes it was about the creator, sometimes it was about the theme, but it must be difficult for the shopkeepers. What I was wondering about these DC omnibuses is that they are so thick. They're really big, much bigger than the Marvel ones. I'm not sure if that's a good thing. Like, it's not that easy to read. Maybe their story arcs are longer. I'm not very familiar with them. But they did have also trades. They had the absolutes, all those monster size issues. There's Batman in the tree, Batman in the car, Batman in the moon, Batman here and there. Lots of Batman. And then there was maybe some Marvel stuff. Then we got to the Star Wars. I kind of skipped the Marvel shelf there. I only have stuff from Star Wars. I have the Darth Vader and Dr. Aphra. Those are really good. Then we get these shelves. They were more themed after entertainment, like cartoons, movies, games, things like that. that's the way that's the way it looked to my eye. There are TV series, and here we got some games, more games. A lot of comics about games these days. Then mixed good stuff, lots of good stuff and big books. I'd let this roll. This is self-explanatory, I think. It just shows a good selection in a good comic book store. Many books here that I'd like to own one day. Some of these are completely new to me. I'd like to look inside each of them, but I didn't have time for that. This is Mignola, John Arcudi, Hellboy World. And then it's more, I guess, Vertigo and dark fantasy. Neil Gaiman. I think those are the connecting dots in this shelf. Fables is something that I only have few trade paperbacks, but I'd like to have all of it. And then all the stuff that didn't fit anywhere else, I guess, but still good, still very good. And this pretty much ends the comic part of it. And so as you can see, this is the store. I'll let this roll because now we are upstairs, and this is all secondhand stuff you see here in the shelves. They are all in plastics. Yeah, they put all the albums in plastics and then they slide it in, so everything is kept in a really good order. Aisles in the middle, they are secondhand, and then they had one in the back. They had this kind of bin where they had damaged books. I bought something from there, so they are from downstairs. If some books get damaged badly, they or even like some only had some small dents in them, and so they bring them up and sell away cheap. And yeah, so this was really well kept. And also in the left side you see that black display behind the counter. That's where I'm going to show you next photos here. So this is the real collectibles, like a more valued ones. Now I want you to focus on one thing. There weren't any floppies downstairs, and that tells you a lot about European comic scene also. No floppies. So most of these floppies are really old, and that's why you have to pay. And they are rare, so you have to pay good money for these, but usually not the kind of money, I guess, in US markets. But also another thing, not just that the fact that the downstairs was just albums, not floppies. Well, it's because the album is better format. Although these are expensive here. When we jump forward to the next picture, now the prices are easily 3 to 5 times higher, and we are in the Donald Duck world. This is also one thing that defines European market. It's quite different from the US. This is seen as much more highly valued, and there is a bigger market for this. That's also the thing, that people are more willing to put the money on the table when it's about Donald Duck. This would be the same thing in Finland, although the scenes in Finland is so small that you can't really make a lot of money with these. But it's those little details that actually kind of reveal a very big differences between the markets. And then we go forward. Oh yeah, okay. My wife took this picture. She said that let's take one picture with you in it in this store, and don't make any stupid childish hand gestures, which I of course did, and I had my eyes closed. So she asked me to take another one, and I declined. Those are the conversations you have to do in marriage. It was a good discussion. Let's go forward. Yeah, these, of course, I got some bags with me, and I've been there a few times. And in this bag, well, this looks like Jeff Lemire's Essex County. Nothing else is visible there. And there's another pile. Yeah, good hunting, I guess. Yeah, and one more. This is the picture from their manga store. It's about, you take 100 steps and you're there. This is not the whole store. There was another room also, but it's just completely separate store for all kinds of manga. Pretty amazing. Faraos Cigarer. And it's good that I got to make this tech demo for myself at the same time. And if anyone is actually watching this, I thank you for watching, and I see you in the next one. Bye.